Hi everyone, and welcome to the KIS webinar. We're ready to start, so hopefully you can hear us and everything's working okay. So speaking today, we are the KIS team, and that consists of myself, Natasha Heaney. We've also got Nick Bailey.
Hello.
And George Pike.
Hello.
Okay, so a bit of technical information about the webinar before we begin. So feel free to ask any questions at any time using the Ask a Question option just underneath the main screen. And any general questions we'll try to get through at the end. If you have a specific question about your institution, then it's best to email the KIS inbox directly. There are also some additional resources available below featuring some of the tools or guidance we refer to during the webinar. And you can access these by clicking the Resources tab underneath the Question button. Another thing to note is that it might be helpful to view this presentation in full screen, as in some parts we do display small text that can be hard to read in the regular sized window. You can do this by hovering over the presentation window and clicking on the expanding box in the corner. And the way this webinar is going to work is we're briefly going to start by pitching at assuming a low level of knowledge and then quickly start to build up in complexity of what we're covering. Okay, so what we're going to cover today is going to give you an overview of the key information set, what we expect you to send to us, how to do this, some common errors and warnings that you might get and how to get around those, some other things to look out for. We're also going to cover some frequently asked questions as well as answer your questions at the end. Okay, so the KIS, or the Key Information Set, is an overview of information on HE courses to aid prospective students' study choices and allow them to compare information across similar courses. It includes student satisfaction measures from the NSS as well as employment status from the DELI. Information provided by institutions such as proportion of time spent in lectures or independent study is also included. So information is provided at course level if there's sufficient data to display. Otherwise, information is aggregated across years or grouped with similar courses to allow the information to be displayed for data protection purposes. So what we expect from you is for you to submit a valid .xml file to us and ensure that the information that you've sent to us relates to courses that you're planning to run in the 17-18 academic year and not the 2016-17 academic year. And all submissions must be signed off as correct by the head of institution by noon, Thursday the 4th of August. If after this point you spot any errors, you can resubmit the data to us and sign it off again by Thursday the 25th of August in time for publication on the Unistats website. And another thing to note is that you should make sure all courses you submit to us are eligible to appear on the KIS by checking the coverage of the record as outlined on the HESA website. And I'm now going to hand you over to Nick, who's going to teach you how to submit.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go through the whole process of how to submit your XML file and how to create it and then what to check at the other end. If the video doesn't appear clear and you want to go back through this later, then we have made some resources available to you at the bottom, which includes the PowerPoint that we're running through, so you will be able to watch everything that I do on the screen now back through again. Okay, so the first thing that we would advise you to do is to log in or go through the internet to the HESA website, which is hesa.ac.uk. And then once on HESA's website, if you go to data collection at the top and then go down to the key information set, so the key information set being the KIS, and at the top we've got the year 2016-17. On this page there is a huge amount of information about the KIS. This includes details on the structure of the file. You can view the data items, which includes all valid codes for anything you need to submit. You can also download the validation kit to test your XML file without going through our whole system. And you can download HESA's XML data entry tool. Through this link, you will have access to a lot of information on the data entry tool, including videos, all of this provided by HESA, and you can download the tool here. So this is to help you produce your XML file without needing to really know what an XML is. So if you can see this screen, this is what an XML should look like. It can be opened in any text-based software. So you don't need to know exactly what this looks like. You don't need to understand an XML to submit this through our system. If you create it using HESA's tool, we would advise that you just open this up just to check a few things before submitting, which includes the rec ID, which is 16061, and make sure that your UK PRN, so your 8-digit institution code, is there at the top. Okay, when you have produced an XML using the data entry tool, if you go to our extranet, which is data.heskey.ac.uk, if you've used this before, you can just log in as usual using the email and password. And then, if you haven't used it before, scroll down to register. There's a bit of a gap to get down to this, so make sure you do scroll down. Click on register now. Enter your name and email address, create a password, which has to be usually longer than 6 characters, and then enter your group key, which will have been sent through to your KIS contact and also through to your head of institution. Once you've put this in, you should get through to this survey page, and it's the 2016-17 KIS submission system that we're looking for. So if it's there, then click on it. There may be other things that you've used before. Ignore these. We're just looking at the KIS system for now. If you haven't already got this available, then click on My Account and add this group by, again, submitting the group key. When you're ready, then go through to the 2016-17 KIS submission system page. Again, we've got links to useful websites, including our guidance, HESA's website, and again, the data entry tool on HESA's website. Scroll down, you'll see that we've got our deadline date of the 4th of August at 12 noon. You need to submit by that point. And then click on Upload to upload your file. On this different page, you can then choose your file, make sure that it's an XML that you're uploading, otherwise you'll get an error. When you've done that, click on Submit, and you should get back through to this page. And on this page, the status should change to waiting or processing. To refresh the screen, then click on Status, and that will refresh and take you back to the top. And then when it's ready, you should see that it says completed on this page. To check the status of your submission, if you scroll down slightly further, and you will see in the comments line that either is ready for sign-off, or if there were stage 1 or stage 2 validation errors, which we'll go through shortly, you'll need to rectify these and resubmit the file. When you have done that and you're happy with it, if you click on Result, you'll be able to access the results package, which includes the initial XML that you uploaded and validation 1 and 2 outputs to check if you've got any errors or warnings, and then 2 check docs, which includes the data that you've uploaded, and we'll go through them in a little more detail shortly. So the next thing that I wanted to just point out is the 3 different status messages that you will get on the extranet. When you initially upload a file, you will have a status of waiting. Even if you are the first person in the queue, you'll get waiting with 1 in brackets. The higher the number in brackets after waiting, the further back in the queue you are. So at busy periods around the submission deadlines, you could be further back in the queue and therefore have to wait a while for your data to process through. Once you've got to the front of the queue, then you're not able to cancel your submission anymore. So if you're waiting and you realise there's a problem with what you've uploaded, then you can click cancel, but then once it's processing, then you can't cancel that. It should take around about 5 minutes to process, but this will be depending on the amount of data that you're submitting. So if you've got lots of courses, it will take slightly longer. Once it's processed, then click on, it should change to completed, and then you can click on result and therefore see the results package.
Okay, so within this results package, you'll be able to view any validation errors or warnings from your HTML files, which will, in this case, are the top 2 files in this results package. So I'm just going to take you through a couple of examples of some of the most common validation errors or warnings that people come across. Okay, so for this example, this is actually a schema error, and in this case, the results package won't produce a validation to HTML, as this means that the process didn't actually make it this far. So for this example, it doesn't actually recognise the year 2011 as a valid ILR year or HESA year. So bear in mind that for KIS 2016, only years 2012, 2013 and 2014 may be submitted in your XML file. And this kind of error message is a similar message that you'll get if you've submitted an XML that isn't in the right structure or something that isn't even an XML. So you'll need to amend this and resubmit. Okay, now this example is a validation 1 warning. So what happens here is that when you submit your file, we check that the HESA course IDs or ILR aim IDs that you submitted were present in the ILR or HESA data for the years that you've indicated. If you've submitted a HESA course ID or ILR aim ID for 2012 and 2014, but not for 2013, then this warning will occur. And this table shown shows which course is triggering the error. And then you can then use this KIS course ID to identify which course it's referring to in the XML. So to solve this issue, first check your XML to see which year that course is missing. And if the course did run this year, then add it to your XML and resubmit. If the course didn't actually run during that year and you're confident you've included as many years' data as possible, then you can just ignore this warning. Okay, now this time we have an example of a common validation 2 error. So this happens when a course you've submitted can't be found in the student data for the year that you've indicated. And again, this table lists which specific course is triggering this warning. So if you have this error, first remember that only courses for the years 2014, 2013 and 2012 may be submitted for the KIS 16 return. Next, check that this course is actually running and has been supplied in the student data for the year in question. Then ensure that the HESA course ID or the ILR aim ID is actually correct and not just a mistake. And finally, if you've done all of the above and still not fixed it, check that if you're referencing data from another institution, make sure you supply the relevant Reg UK PRN for this institution. And our final example is a validation 1 error. So this often occurs when you've got a full-time and a part-time fee. The idea for this field is not just half the full-time fee. So the part-time fee that you enter should be the fee charged for the full-time equivalent for the course. So, for example, what is charged for the full 120 credits rather than just what the student will pay over the year. And generally, the fee charged for the part-time students is the same as for the full-time students. It's just that the part-time students pay this over a longer period. And we do understand that there are a small number of courses that are actually below the £5,000 threshold. So if this is the case, please just contact the KIS help desk directly and we can discuss this.
Okay, so I'm just going to take you through the check docs, which are the final thing in your results package. So these contain information on the data that you submitted, and it's important to check these because this is the data that will feed into the Unistats website and therefore be available to prospective students. So on the first page of CheckDoc 1, you've got the run number and the file that was submitted. So the run number will tell you how many times you've submitted, just so you can keep a track of that. There is absolutely no limit on the number of times that you upload through our system, so you can keep doing it in order to check that your XML and the data that you've included in it is good. You're more than welcome to keep doing that throughout the period. Along the bottom of this, we have a number of different tabs. Some of these will legitimately not have any data in, and it won't be a problem with the system. It won't necessarily be a problem with the data that you submitted. It's just that sometimes for some courses there won't be relevant data for some of these tables, so you can expect some of these to be blank. If you have a table that is blank and you expected to see data, then check your XML. Important thing for these check docs is that there's a large number of tabs along the bottom, so it's important to scroll right to make sure that you are able to view all of the different tabs and all the different data for your KIS. There are two check docs. So the first one was CheckDoc 1, this one is helpfully CheckDoc 2, and this contains more of the data that we pull in from other sources, so it's not directly submitted by you through your XML. So initially there's only a few tabs in here. Some of the tables are extremely wide, so you may need again to scroll across to check all the data. One tab to particularly note is the tariff tab. So this tariff tab previously just contained the tariff scores. Now we have old UCAS tariff scores as well as new UCAS tariff scores, and you can use this to compare the two. But please bear in mind that there will only be data in this table for courses that you franchise in from an HEI. So those that have submitted data to HESA, it doesn't pull in data from the ILR. Initially there's only a few tabs in this, but once the DELI and NSS data is included, there will be additional tabs visible in CheckDoc 2 where you'll be able to check your DELI data and your NSS data before it goes through to Unistats.
Okay, so once we've added the NSS and the DELI data and you've resubmitted your XML to us, you'll then be able to see this data in the CheckDoc. So this should happen around early July, and shortly after we've added the NSS and the DELI data, you'll also be able to sign off your data once you're happy with it. So once everything has been submitted and signed off by the head of institution in time for the deadline, the results will be published on the Unistats website, where prospective students can view information such as this on screen about the course that they're interested in and compare it to similar courses and hopefully help them in their decision. And now George is going to take you through some of the most frequently asked questions.
Okay, so I'm going to speak briefly about some of the FAQs that we receive at the KIS help desk, firstly relating to the sign-off system. So once valid data has been uploaded, it may be signed off. This sign-off system is a separate group on our extranet site to which you'll need a group key. The group keys are initially sent out to the head of institutions only, and the initial sign-off must be performed by this member of staff. Another common question is, how do I delegate authority? A delegated authority can be added by filling in Table 2 of the sign-off workbook. Please note that a delegated authority can only be added when the head of institution is performing the sign-off attempts. And once they're added, they may perform future sign-offs. One thing to note here is that the sign-off remains the same as last year, and we did get quite a few queries about this, so we're currently reviewing how the system is designed, and it may change in the future. So the second set of frequently asked questions, again relating to the sign-off system, can more than one delegated authority be added? Unfortunately not. Only one can be added at a time. However, this can be changed. If you wish to change the delegated authority, this can be done by entering different details in Table 2 of the sign-off workbook. However, this upload, similarly to the initial upload, must be done by the head of institution. So another question, should I receive an email, and what does this mean? So after every sign-off attempt, our system generates an automatic email. This will include a message specifying whether you've been successful or unsuccessful. Some reasons, common reasons why you may be unsuccessful, is that the user signing off is not the head of institution or the delegated authority. A second reason why it may be unsuccessful is that the sign-off workbook is not the most recent version. A new version of the sign-off workbook is created every time a valid submission is made to the submission system. So these FAQs relate to new courses and linking to previous years of courses. The expectation with linking is that a KIS course should link back to as many previous years of a course as possible. This ensures that an accurate picture of the course can be built. So firstly, how do I link to previous year's data? This can be done by using either a combination of the ILR year and ILR AIM ID entities if the course was run at an FEC. Equivalently, you can use the HESA course ID along with the HESA year entity if this course was previously run at a HEI. One thing to note is that the KIS 16 valid linking years are 12, 13 and 14. These relate to the 2012-2013 academic years and so on. So when returning a brand new course, there are certain entities which must be included within the KIS course structure in the XML. These are firstly the subject code, either an LDCS or JAX code, the TTC ID, which is a teacher training course identifier flag, and the NHS entity. So finally, for the FAQs, once the system is live, the information on Unistats can be changed, and amendments. This is done by amending the XML file that was originally submitted. Once this amended data is submitted again and signed off, then the new data will go live on Unistats within 1 week of the data being signed off. Some common amendments you may wish to make throughout the year, and amendments can be made any time from September onwards, are changes to website URLs, changes to fees. It may be that the fees hadn't been confirmed and have since been confirmed, and changes to assessment methods. Okay, so I think we're going to go straight into the questions and answers session. We'll try to answer your questions here, but if you think that you've asked a question and it hasn't been answered, then feel free to email KIS@HEFGI with the question. So firstly, where can I find the KIS timetable? So this was detailed in the original letter that was sent out to each institution, or it can be found on the HESA website. The main dates to note from the timetable are the 14th of July. This is the valid submission deadline. Please note that this doesn't have to be a complete submission, but it does have to contain valid data. Another date to mention is the 4th of August. Now this is the sign-off deadline in order to view the preview of Unistats, and the system will reopen once Unistats has gone live for amendments in early September. So the second question that we've received is, should top-up courses be included in the KIS? So the answer to this is yes, if this is part of a longer course. E.g., if there was a 1-year HNC with top-up, this would be returned as a 2-year HND. So courses of 1 year or less should not be included in the KIS, but if it's part of a longer course, then the longer course can be included. So the third question is, will a copy of the slides from this webinar be sent out? The slides have been made available in the media section if you scroll down below this page. Also, the recording of this webinar will be made available afterwards. We've received another question. If this webinar applies to courses in 17-18, but we are also using the 16-17 submission system. So currently both systems are live. Amendments can still be made up until the new data goes live on Unistats to the 16-17 submission system, but this webinar applies to KIS 16, which is courses running in 17-18, and this is submissions can be made simultaneously up until the Unistats data goes live.
Okay, we've had another question about if you're expecting a change in 2017-18, but you're not sure exactly how that will impact your courses. So, for example, you aren't quite sure what the course titles are going to be. Our advice to you is to submit, to the best of your knowledge, what those courses will be and the course titles. And note that throughout the year, after August, you can resubmit your data once you know exactly what you're offering or if anything changes throughout the year.
One other question we've had in is, have the sign-off letters been sent to heads of institutions? No, they haven't. So the sign-off group keys will only be sent out once the Delhi and NSS data is available, to ensure that you're not able to sign off data without the Delhi and NSS being included. So So these are likely to go out in early July alongside when we include Delhi and NSS. Alongside that, we've been asked if you can amend your NSS results. No, there are no amendments to the NSS or to the Delhi results. These are hooked in from the NSS system, and there's absolutely no amendments that can be made to either of those. So that's all the questions that we've had through that we feel that we can answer to such a large number of you. If your question hasn't been answered, or if this has sparked another question, and you feel like what we've covered hasn't helped answer that question, then please do email us, which is at KIS at hefke.ac.uk. We would also really appreciate if you could send any feedback on this webinar through to us. It's the first time that we've done something like this. It is based on feedback from you last year on what would be useful for completing the KIS. And we hope it's been useful, but if in the future we can make it even better, then please do let us know. We will try and act on any feedback. Thank you very much for listening, and we hope you have an enjoyable KIS.